Welcome to the fight of your life. Are you willing to die to shine? Nobody is taking us down. We are here for the crown of sound.
All right, Sonic Temple 2023. We're backstage with Suicidal Tendencies, one of my favorite bands of all time. Josh Bernstein, Matt Pinfield. Oh my God, sir, so good to see you. Ben Wyman, how are you, Mike?
I'm the
Pleasure.
after hug.
Mike Muir, man.
By the way, we didn't get to see it on camera, but we all man hugged before this started. And
No.
I want to ruin our tough reputations.
I'm calling you out.
Call me out.
Ben! It was like slow motion. This hard. And I was gonna cry, and I was like, man, I don't know if I can follow that up. And I was like, this is.
Hi, Mike.
I was like, man.
But you and I hug Mike. 'Cause
True
we always
stories.
do.
True stories, man. I'm still spreading the dirt right now. That's how it happened. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And that's why I feel
I
so
come with
good.
my own
I heard feelings, and that's what I say.
Yeah.
I'm very sorry, and this interview will end in another hug, and I'm going to make it up to you. I'm very sorry.
Careful what you ask for,
I
my
don't
friend.
believe in guilt hugs. I don't believe in.
I don't want your pity hug.
Careful what you
I'm sorry.
ask for.
You know, Mike and I have known each other, right?
Pity pats,
since,
you know?
we've known each other since the first
Yeah.
album, early
way back,
first
yeah,
tours.
yeah.
You know what I mean? I go to all of them. It's so good to have you guys here, man. It's so cool. How much do you enjoy still doing the fests? Like Sonic Temple. Is it great to get out there and you just see how many new fans you guys win over because you got the diehard fans who've been listening to you for years and love you and really know all the stuff that you've been doing, followed you, no matter what that was, even side things, infectious grooves, everything you did. But I always see new young people discovering Suicidal, and I think it's a great thing. How does that feel for you?
I think one of the first things is we never did any festivals, and there really weren't a lot in the States. And then in Europe, it's where the first time you experienced it. And in Europe and a lot of stuff, we do, punk festivals, metal festivals, extreme sports, skate content, all different things. And so we always had a lot of different people. And then doing the festivals here is great too, because as you said, there's a lot of people, they've seen people with the hats, they've seen the shirts, they've seen the skateboards, they never heard the music. And if you never have an association with it, you think that's not you, or you see the way people look and you go, oh, that's not me. And they see the name on the flyer, they go, I'm gonna check it out. And it's almost like we call it confessionals after we do festivals. People write, there's like emails and stuff that's like, I've heard the name before, but there's a person that, always right, goes Suicidal. I'm like, and I saw the show and it was like, I loved it, and it's almost like they apologize that they haven't did it. So I think the best way to do things is when we were young, you got a record you liked, you went play it, you make a cassette, dude, you got to listen to this, and you cared about it. And so the festivals gives us a chance to get in front of people that they wouldn't have seen us otherwise, and then they trip out too because they start running out of fingers on the map, expecting to see this really super old band cruising out in a wheelchair, and then like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
So it works great for us because it's comparison analysis.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like it, everyone's watching YouTube and listening to Spotify and stuff, but like still psychologically, a connection, a real life connection has a different effect on the brain, like a massive effect on, like a permanent effect on your brain. So like when we play a show and really connect, and like I said, they knew the hats, they knew the songs, some of the songs that maybe whatever they heard about it, thought it was cool, whatever. But when we come out blazing, I know they're never gonna forget it.
Yeah.
They're never gonna forget it. So it's great to have the opportunity on a festival like this,
I think it's a lot. It's like, the radio in a sense that used to be, song kind of, people do songs to fit in, and they kind of song, and you vacuum and you're doing whatever you do when you're driving, and then occasionally there'd be something comes on, you're like, whoa! And we try to be that band. We've always tried to be that band that like, it's definitely different. May not be for everybody, but it's like so many ways. It's like my dad said, sweat don't lie. We're not going through the motions. And you're asking, what does it feel like to be here? We want everybody to know it's like, we want to be here, we choose to be here, and we're gonna do our thing the way we do it, and no one's gonna stop us. And I think that's, rather than trying to fit in, we wanna stand out.
I think it's great. And you guys always enjoy doing it too, which is great.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. And like you mentioned that there's maybe the expectation of one thing, and you're bringing this energy now. Ben, you've been in the band now a couple of years. You guys have a new bass player who probably also brings a very youthful energy to the band. Tell us about that and playing with these new guys. And of course, Ty bringing him into the fold, sort of a generational thing.
Yeah, it's interesting because we've always had I was 16 when I started the band.
Right.
You know, you look at, Josh Freese now, who's in the Foo Fighters. He was 17 when he got in Infectious Grooves.
Right.
When we got him in Infectious Grooves, then he played on The Art of Rebellion for Suicidal. He was replaced by Brooks Wackerman, who was 14
Avenged, yeah.
when he started playing for Infectious Grooves and stuff, and then got into Suicidal and stuff. And
Let's not
Avenged
forget
Seven-
Bad for Good.
Yeah, yeah,
My favorite.
yeah. And
Sam,
so,
You're running in like a training camp.
well, to a
Yeah.
certain degree, we've always gotten, then after Brooks was Ron Bruner, who ended up playing with Stanley Clark, George Duke, Prince, his brother's Thundercat, who was playing bass with us.
Incredible bass
That, was a completely different thing. And you go on and on and on, and so many different people. So it's always been good. People talk now about Ty, and it's like, it's not a matter how old you are. It's like, the one thing good about Ty is, though, there's a lot of times people say it's like, funny people say, I didn't know there was a time machine, but you proved it. I'm like, what? They go, because that's Robert and stuff. And but it's good to see that, and there is a lot of similarities and stuff. So for me, that is good to see, because when Robert got in the band, what a great feeling that was. Absolutely. And stuff where playing a different style than was considered metal at the time and stuff. And then having Grayson, our new drummer and stuff, who's just crazy off the hook and stuff. And so it's always ones where sometimes people go young, and then you got Ben here who's
older than everybody.
But he's the different situation was where it's like admired, and not in the wrong way, his playing and all that from a distance, and I really appreciated what they were doing. And he has a little bit, we have conversations because he was running everything and knows how hard it is when you truly run things and try to run it the right way for the right reasons,
there's a lot
and
of
have everybody's
parallels.
best interest involved, and it's just a really tricky thing.
A lot of parallels between Dillinger, Skateplant, and Suicidal Tendencies, and Suicidal Tendencies was probably the band that got me out of just like new wave into like guitar music, because I was skateboarding and I was listening to like The Cure. There was like that kind of stuff, and like Nitzerev and like
Nitzerev
Susie and the
was great.
Banshees.
Industrial.
You haven't showed him your
Right.
Flock of Seagull
But I
haircut,
need
did
to
you?
ask you? So
Yeah.
were you in Jersey? Is that
Yeah.
where you- what part of Jersey you grew up in? 'Cause
Morris
I'm-
County.
Morris County, right? See, I'm from Middlesex County.
Yeah,
East
Middlesex
Brunswick,
County, yeah.
And I
Yep.
knew Dillinger always, of course, being from there. It
Yeah,
was just
playing
a cool,
at the
proud thing.
the Melody Bar in New Brunswick and all
Legendary
that.
Melody, which I started all the music there.
I
Before
know.
that, there was no music, so it was
That's
really
why
fun.
I say that,
makes
coming
it
from that same
it's
spot.
Great
but,
outcomes.
but yeah, as a little kid, like I was skateboarding around, and I saw on the half pipe they're playing Suicidal Tendencies. Like, what is this? And then I just listened to it so much, the tape starts wobbling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was just something so great about it. There's the mythology about it. You're like, who are these people? What are these people? Where's it coming from? It was a huge inspiration on me and my trajectory moving forward. So, really makes sense.
And I just love going back to my college radio days, when I play I Won't Fall in Love Today, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
one of the shortest songs, which I loved,
Yeah.
and it was totally, everything on the first record, but followed with you guys and loved all the stuff and the Infectious Groove stuff. But do you, obviously with Robert Trio having been in the band for a while, and now Ty being there and being such a badass bass player, do you remember him as a little kid too? Like, did you know him as? Did you see
he
him
went
much
to
at
he
that
actually
time?
went to Culver City, even though he's lived in Venice and stuff. So Rocky knew him,
Yeah.
and so it was kind of a funny story. I probably shouldn't say it, but when we were looking for a bass player, he was mentioned, and I didn't know him, and they were like, oh, blah, blah, this and that, and he had played in more bands that were more funk, but not infectious funk, more Scritti Politti, more Prince, kind of that kind of thing. And it was always had the singer that was more trying to be like that and stuff. And it was funny because when we first got in the band and he was playing me some of the stuff he did, I was like, and I'm a pretty honest person in my opinions, and I try to express them in a way. I go, the bass sounds great, but that music's killing me, And I grew up with funk. I love it, Parliament, all that stuff,
Yeah,
and
you
stuff.
mentioned
So
Stanley Clark before, so I was saying
and stuff, and so
bass players like that,
and you Jocko and stuff like that, and he did the
Pastorius.
documentary, and great bass players. And so when I was with Infectious, I said, why don't we, where Suicidal and odd music is guitar driven, why don't we do stuff that's written around the bass? And that's where Infectious came from, because I think that a lot of heavier music, you didn't hear the bass at all. And we did the first tour we did with Robert. We opened up for Anthrax in Europe, and we're playing 8,000 venues. And the first show afterwards, Scott and Charlie, he goes, where the fuck do you find that guy? You slap in the face and this and that and Aaron and stuff. And so it was one of the ones on You Can't Bring Me Down. He slapped the bass and he's like going, remember saying like, oh, I don't know if like people, you're supposed to do that. I go, I don't care if you're going to slap that fucking bass, you know?
Yeah.
And it gives it that sound and stuff. And it's how you do things. And I think a lot of times people get into what is done rather than how it sounds and how it's going to be interpreted and what are people going to say rather than, you know, how does it make you feel? And so that was the thing with Robert. We were like going, let's do something because it's the right thing. It feels good rather than what rules that we don't even like those rules anyhow. Try to follow.
I know, it's amazing. I love that. And Ben, I just love that you guys came together with the two bands. It's just such a cool thing.
Love at first sight. No.
You know?
Yeah.
I remember I first saw you guys maybe about 3-4 years ago in incarceration inside the prison when
remember seeing you there.
You first joined. And,
very first show, yeah.
The energy was off the charts, you know, and you never stop moving, right? You're pacing that stage is incredible. Do you guys see? I'm just out of curiosity. You know, we finally see hardcore bands playing main stages now, and crossover bands. Is there any of these younger generation bands that you see out there that you think are sort of waving the torch correctly?
Suicidal Tendencies. This young kid Ty.
That kid Ty.
No,
Yeah.
We were just talking about this actually about.
It's kind of having I don't say having a moment, but like we're seeing bands in hardcore and stuff out there that I don't think we've seen in 20, 30 years.
And I love it. I love it because
I think one socially it's a little more acceptable. So it's and it sounds bad when you're old and you say it. Oh, Bag was hard. But, you know, we literally couldn't play in LA. You know, the book that's not going to be written has so many chapters of truth that people wouldn't believe. You know, so it doesn't matter
the way
what
you guys were treated back then.
Yeah, and the whole situation and
hardcore
stuff. How
and
many
the punk
times?
scene right at that period of time.
Yeah, and suicidal specifically too. You know, and this is a day when there wasn't cameras. You know, my nose was broken 9 times. I wasn't born this way, but majority of the time by the police. My ribs broken. You know, that's just the way it was. There's a lot of different things that happened, and I think that to me it's not a bitterness, but it's like I think it's a little bit not saying easier because the reason what I would say is easier is because when music stopped selling, to me I said this is a great opportunity because we were in so many situations where you'd hear bands that were so dependent on selling records and they were so worried about selling records and those numbers were all that mattered, and now they don't sell. Yeah. So you don't have any excuse. You'd see people reading, you just randomly read an interview and they say, oh, the last record, it didn't sell. So they're saying, it was the label. It's not what we really blah, blah, want to do. They disassociate it. If it sold, they wouldn't do that. But I'm like, records don't sell. Now you could do whatever the fuck you want. But people aren't doing whatever the fuck they want, you know? Because they're still worried about that.
Metrics.
That this and that and stuff. So I think it's a situation where hard music, there's always something. If you gravitate, even when I go to Black Sabbath, whatever record, you'd hear there'd always be a band, a rock band, they put a fast song on the first one, and you're like, yeah, and then all of a sudden they go to the ballads, you know, and stuff, and do that. It was like a pattern and stuff. And so I just think that there's music, if it's done right, there's so many ways, and there's so many bands that have done it that you have a path that you could follow a lot easier, so to speak, than before and stuff. But and the point too is you have to have some conviction or some beliefs, and then some people it's gimmicks, you know, too. And I'm not putting in context with that, but a lot of people it's like, how do we get out there? And so it's it's the social media and the gimmick thing, and that's something obviously I'm not good at.
But you're good at a lot of other things, as far as I'm concerned. And one of the things is your staying power, your stamina, and and the way that for me, you've always been come from a very smart place with very open mind, and I've always loved that musically.
Well, one of the things that I found personally I loved is you'll have people, and when we're doing shows, and their parents bring their kids, and they're younger, and their parents have the shirt on of the band that they're going to see.
The kids have the kid version?
Yeah, they want to buy our shirt, and they're like, my kid really wanted to meet you and stuff, and they're doing it in our booths, and you see it. And when we're selling our merch, they always say it's like the people coming, that the older people, they got the shirts from the other bands, and their kids want to have the suicidal stuff. And so I think there's something to be said about that, you know, especially when there's a big age difference between a lot of us and stuff, you know. So
cool. Well, guys, we can't thank you enough. You know, for coming on the show. Power Hour, Backstage here, Sonic Temple, Mike Weir, Ben Wyman. the incredible Suicidal Tendencies, guys. Can't thank you enough.
Cool. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, guys.
Appreciate it.